Once upon a time, in a distant age and a far-off stretch of sea, our story begins across the boundless blue ocean under a golden, sunlit sky. On deck of a grand merchant ship named Pearl of the Seas, sailors bustled and clattered, going about their duties as the vessel gently pitched on the waves. Everything seemed calm. The wind was soft, the sky clear, but beneath that tranquil surface, tension rippled among the crew and their captain. They had set sail 2 weeks earlier from the port of the Saffron Kingdom, carrying Prince Adnan on a trading mission to the Amber Realm of Sultan Suleiman. Their hope was for a week's voyage, peaceful and straightforward, exchanging silks and spices and goodwill. But just after they ventured into the heart of the ocean, a ferocious storm roared from the horizon, forcing Captain Hassan to alter their course. Then, almost without warning, a dense fog engulfed the ship. For hours, the sailors could see nothing. No bow, no stern, just water and mist as the Pearl of the Seas crept forward aimlessly. And when the fog finally lifted, the crew realized with dread that they were completely lost. Worse still, the stars above were all wrong. Captain Hassan, staring into the sky, frowned. The constellations they knew, Polaris, the Little Dipper, all the familiar lights, were nowhere to be found. It was as if the night sky had shifted, reshuffled by some strange, invisible force. Confusion spread among the crew. Hassan felt a tightening knot in his chest. He ordered the ship to turn around, but the waters grew stranger still. He came to a dreadful realization. They had drifted into the legendary Sea of Darkness, a place whispered about in mariner tales, denied by rational men, yet here they were. Prince Adnan and the sailors understood the gravity of their situation. They exchanged worried glances, but they did not panic. Instead, they rallied together. Under Captain Hassan's calm orders, they rationed their food and water, conserving every scrap. All the while, Hassan stood at the prow, eyes scanning the dark waves, alert for any sign of land. He watched the currents, felt the shift in the wind, and prayed, not to any deity, but to luck itself, that an island might appear, somewhere, to offer safe harbor. Days passed in taut, suspenseful silence. Their vessels groaned, creaked, and swayed as the Pearl of the Seas crawled through the Sea of Darkness. Their supplies dwindled, and the horizon remained empty, the waters unyielding. But through it all, the crew clung to hope, united by their determination to survive. The turn came suddenly. The sky dimmed, swallowing the last traces of sunlight. A low growl of wind rose into a violent roar, and clouds the color of iron coiled above the Pearl of the Seas. Visibility shrank to a blur of rain and shadow as waves climbed higher and higher, towering over the ship like living giants poised to strike. The calm ocean they had known only hours earlier erupted into chaos. The sailors fought instinctively, each man clinging to his duty, bracing against the onslaught as the storm hammered the vessel. Water crashed across the deck, cold and relentless. Captain Hassan shouted orders through the wind, his voice hoarse but unwavering. Years of navigating treacherous waters had taught him to battle the sea, not fear it. But this storm was different. It deepened, darkened, and swallowed everything around them. The wind tore at ropes, snapped loose sails, and flung crates across the deck. Every wave struck like a blow meant to break them apart. The crew scrambled to keep the ship afloat, dumping water overboard, tightening ropes, securing the mast, anything to buy a few more minutes. Prince Adnan did everything he could, rushing between sailors, lending his strength wherever it mattered. Still, the storm only grew worse. Realizing the danger, Captain Hassan shouted for everyone to gather on the upper deck. "Tie yourselves to the beams," he commanded. "Now!" The crew obeyed, fumbling with ropes as the ship lurched violently beneath them. The wind howled, the sea raged, and then came the sound no sailor ever wishes to hear. A bone-cracking, world-splitting grind beneath the hull. Hidden rocks, sharp as blades, waited beneath the black water. The ship slammed into them with brutal force. The impact tore through the pearl of the seas, ripping the wood apart as though the ocean itself had been lying in wait, jaws open. The vessel split with a deafening crack, splitting into two massive sections as waves surged through the open wound. The crew didn't stand a chance. Ropes snapped, bodies were flung into the churning sea. The ocean took them as if pulling them into an endless, merciless abyss. Captain Hassan's last realization before the water swallowed him was a hollow, devastating truth. The ship was lost. His men were lost, and he might be next. Thunder rolled as the storm reached its peak, lightning tearing jagged scars across the black sky. Within minutes, the pearl of the seas disappeared beneath the raging waters, leaving behind nothing but foam, darkness, and the echo of a vanishing cry.
The sailors, scattered across the raging sea, had long since lost hope. Their strength faded with every passing moment as the storm continued to batter what remained of their will. But no storm lasts forever. As dawn crept over the horizon, the darkness finally thinned. The clouds unraveled, letting thin rays of sunlight spill across the ocean. The wind softened, and the monstrous waves slowly settled into a tired, rhythmic sway. A flock of large seabirds, white, sharp-winged, and hungry, circled above the drifting debris. They swooped low, scanning for anything edible. A few of them landed on a broad plank of wood, floating steadily on the surface. Beneath them lay the unconscious body of Captain Hassan. The birds prodded him with their beaks, curious and impatient. For a moment, he didn't move. Then, with a sudden gasp, his eyes shot open. The birds flapped wildly as he stirred, coughing and clawing for breath. It took him a moment to understand what had happened, but the presence of seabirds told him one thing clearly: land was close. With a trembling surge of hope, Hassan clung to the wooden plank and scanned the horizon. And there it was, a strip of shoreline, pale and still, waiting like a distant promise. Summoning what little strength remained in his battered limbs, he paddled. Every stroke burned, but inch by inch he pushed himself toward the island. By the time he reached the sand, he collapsed onto the shore, half-conscious, shaking, exhausted. The place was eerily quiet. No footprints, no huts, no smoke, nothing to suggest human life, just a silent, untouched wilderness. Breathing hard, Hassan lay there for a long moment. Then he steadied himself, sat up, and gazed at the sky where the birds circled lazily. Once he gathered enough strength, he began exploring. The island was lush, almost overwhelmingly so. Tall coconut trees swayed in the breeze, accompanied by thick, vibrant greenery he had never seen before. Fruit trees dotted the edges of the forest, some familiar, others strange and almost luminous in color. Further inland, a towering mountain rose above everything, watching over the island like an ancient guardian. Hassan gathered what fruit he could carry and followed a stream of shimmering, fresh water that trickled through the forest. He drank deeply, feeling life return to him with every swallow. Not far from where the captain had washed ashore, another body lay sprawled across the sand, barely breathing. The ocean had shown him no mercy. A large crab scuttled from its burrow, beginning its morning search for food, only to find a motionless form blocking its path. Curious, it approached and tested the strange intruder with a sharp pinch of its claws. The pain jolted the figure awake. Prince Adnan gasped, instincts firing through his exhausted body. His vision blurred at first, then steadied enough to reveal a deserted shoreline, a dense forest behind him, and scattered fruit carried in by the tide or trees nearby. Reality settled over him like a cold weight. Survival here would not be easy, and he was almost certainly alone. He reached instinctively for the sword at his waist. It was still there. Unsheathing it, he scanned the trees, tense and ready for a threat that never came. After a long moment, he slid the blade back into its sheath, convinced he was alone. But he wasn't. From somewhere hidden among the thick foliage, the same eerie green eyes watched him, silent and unblinking. The day passed quickly. By sunset, the sky burned orange over the endless ocean. The prince sat on the sand, staring at the rolling waves as he tried to gather his thoughts. Alone on a forgotten island, with nothing but the clothes on his back, He wondered how long he could survive. Not far away, Captain Hassan had found shelter, a narrow cave carved into the rock. He sat at its entrance, exhausted but alert, determined to stay safe through the night. The forest grew darker by the minute, the shadows thickening into impenetrable shapes. Then both men heard it at once. A crackling sound, wood snapping, the soft hiss of flames. Fire. Hope flickered inside them like a spark catching dry tinder. They made their way toward the orange glow piercing the darkness. As they approached, the truth revealed itself. They weren't the only survivors. A young sailor sat beside a blazing fire, feeding it dry branches. When he noticed the captain and Prince Adnan approaching, he jumped to his feet, eyes wide with relief. "Captain? Prince Adnan, I can't believe it. I thought I was the only one left. I'm so glad you're alive." He rushed toward them, shaking their hands with genuine joy. They sat together by the fire, the warmth easing the chill of the night and the weight of their fear. Captain Hassan studied the young man's face. He said, "You're one of the new recruits. Remind me, what's your name, lad?" The sailor straightened. "My name is Salama, sir, son of Mansour the merchant." "Ah, yes," the captain said, nodding as memory flashed through his tired mind. "I remember you now. Tell me, Salama, why did you build this fire?"
Salama answered quickly, his voice steady despite the exhaustion in his eyes. "I woke up on this beach at dawn. I figured if I survived, maybe others did too. So I gathered wood and fruit and lit this fire to guide anyone still alive. If either of you needs food or water, I've collected plenty." The captain and the prince shared a relieved smile. The young sailor's resourcefulness was a gift they desperately needed. But not far from the fire's warm glow, those same green eyes watched them, their expression unreadable, perhaps curious, perhaps cunning, or maybe just a trick of the shadows. No one could tell. On the empty shoreline, the three survivors, Captain Hassan, Prince Adnan, and Salama, sat together, each carrying unspoken questions. Yet one truth was clear. If they wanted to stay alive on this forsaken island, cooperation was their only chance. After a long silence, Salama spoke carefully. "We need a plan, and we need to work together. I'm strong, and I can handle building us a shelter. I'll gather wood, vines for rope, anything we can use." Prince Adnan finally lifted his head. "Good. We'll camp here tonight, and you'll start building at first light. I'll oversee your work and help when needed. As for Captain Hassan, he knows the sea better than anyone. He can manage fresh water, fruit, and anything we can catch from the shore." The captain stiffened. The prince's tone was sharp, far too sharp for someone who'd contributed nothing yet. Hassan felt irritation rise beneath the surface, hot and immediate. "And what about you, Prince Adnan?" he asked, his voice edged with challenge. The prince placed his hand on his sword as if to remind them of who he was. "I grew up in my father's court. I know discipline, order,
and how to deal with anyone who slacks off. I'll be the one keeping both of you in line, so we survive." Salama swallowed hard. The tension between the two older men was unmistakable, an invisible line drawn in the sand. The captain would never bow to the prince, and the prince would never surrender control. It was only a matter of time before their struggle for leadership ignited into something far more dangerous than the island itself.
Before Captain Hassan could respond, Salama spoke quickly. "And what about protection, Prince? We need someone strong, someone like you, who knows combat and can wield a sword to keep us safe. This forest, it's full of dangers. Your strength could guard us through the night while the captain and I sleep. We don't know what might be lurking behind those trees." Salama didn't yet realize that eyes really were watching them from the shadows. He simply hoped to temper the prince's overbearing tone. The prince's expression softened, a subtle satisfaction passing over him as he recognized his newfound importance. "Very well," he said, with a hint of pride. "My strength will protect you both." Captain Hassan understood just as clearly. Prince Adnan cared only about asserting his authority, proving his physical power, and positioning himself as leader of the island. The captain decided there would be no confrontation tonight. He needed rest and a clear mind before any potential clash. By morning, cooperation was unavoidable. In truth, they worked together, collecting water, gathering fruit, and hauling wood. Tasks were divided carefully. One group secured drinking water, another scouted for food, and the last prepared firewood. By the day's end, after a modest meal of fruit and shared labor, all three were satisfied with their progress. Salama slumped against a tree, exhaustion pulling him down. The prince leaned back, eyelids heavy with sleep. Hassan, however, rose and announced that he would venture into the forest for a few hours, hoping to map the terrain and perhaps discover whether anyone else lived on the island. He promised to return before nightfall, carrying a small supply of water and fruit. Stepping beneath the dense canopy, he felt as though he had entered a new world. Trees grew so thick that sunlight barely touched the ground. Strange calls and rustling sounds filled the air, wild and unfamiliar, sparking both awe and unease. He marked his path carefully, etching small signs into tree trunks to ensure he could find his way back. Suddenly, a soft voice called his name. Hassan froze, scanning the shadows. Could another sailor have survived the wreck? Was someone in need of help? He moved cautiously toward the sound, curiosity pulling him deeper into the forest. The voice drifted farther into the trees, clear but elusive. And then he glimpsed movement, a figure slipping between the trunks, guiding him toward the heart of the island. A shiver of danger ran through him, yet fascination and courage outweighed fear. He followed. Captain Hassan pressed forward, following the voice that had called his name, echoing softly between the dense trees. Every step into the forest thickened the air, a mixture of damp earth and fragrant leaves. Shadows twisted and shifted around him, but still he moved with determination. At last, he reached the source of the voice and froze. Standing before him was a young woman with striking green eyes, tall and composed, radiating a quiet strength. She was not a sailor, as he had assumed, but a figure of unexpected grace, dressed in garments unlike anything he had seen. Her posture and expression betrayed no fear. She seemed entirely at home here. Who are you?" Hassan asked, his voice a mix of awe and disbelief. "How did you get here? And how do you know my name?" She smiled, a smile that seemed to light up the forest around her. "I am the guardian of this forest, or perhaps the princess of the island. My name is Zara. I have been here since before I was born, long before I could even remember." Hassan's gaze shifted behind her, and his breath caught. Rising above the trees was a magnificent palace, its wooden towers and elegant spires weaving through the canopy. He blinked, almost questioning his eyes. "And that palace? What is it?" he asked, awestruck. "That is my home," she said softly, her voice like a melody. "It is always alive with those who serve its heart, and it awaits the one who is meant to enter." The captain stepped toward the open gates, but Zara lifted a hand, halting him. "You may not enter, not unless you are the one who is truly sought." Hassan's brow furrowed. "The one who is sought? Who is that? And why would I be kept from entering?" Her green eyes glimmered as she answered, "I will tell you the whole story. Perhaps you are the one destined for this place. But first, you must accept my invitation to dine." With a graceful wave of her hand, 4 elegant creatures, resembling monkeys but far more majestic, emerged from the palace doors, each carrying platters heaped with rich, tantalizing food. Within moments, the spread was set before Hassan and Zara. She gestured for him to sit, watching the wonder unfold across his face as he took in the feast. Zara began her tale. "Many years ago, the sea cast my mother onto this island, leaving her alone. But soon she was welcomed by the beautiful forest guardians, the creatures you saw, who had been waiting for the kind-hearted queen foretold to arrive from the ocean. They made my mother their queen, and she brought peace among them. She taught them the arts of cooking, hunting, and many other skills, and the forest thrived under her care." Hassan listened, enraptured, as the story unfolded, realizing that this island held secrets far deeper than he had ever imagined, a place of magic, guardians, and destinies intertwined with the very waves that had brought him here. Zahra's voice softened, yet carried the weight of history. "Thanks to my mother's wisdom, this island has thrived. She built the palace, nurtured its people, and ruled with justice and kindness. But she has passed on. Before her death, she told me that the sea would one day deliver a kind-hearted king, someone who would come to this island, marry, and help continue its legacy. "This king," she continued, "is the only one who may enter the palace and rule over the island. Recently, the sea has brought 3 men to our shores. I allowed you to stay to see who among you might truly possess the heart of a king. Or if only one remains, then that man shall be the rightful ruler. There can be only one king and only one partner for me." Captain Hassan's eyes sparkled with determination. "I am the one sought," he declared, his voice sharp and unwavering. "The other 2 are fools. One is a servant who only knows obedience, and the other is spoiled, whining, waving his sword without understanding anything." Zahra smiled, a glimmer of approval in her green eyes. "I believe you, brave captain. But to enter the palace, you must be the sole survivor, pure of heart and delivered here alone, just as my mother's prophecy and the guardians foretold. You may eat now. I've ensured that my guardians will harm no one. And remember, none of you should harm another, or your heart will be tainted." Hassan began to eat, savoring the feast before him, rich fruits, roasted meats, and cool water. For the first time since the shipwreck, he felt a sense of calm and security. But as he began to relax, Zahra's voice cut through his thoughts. "You must return to your companions now," she said gently. "Darkness is approaching. Do not reveal anything about my kingdom. I trust you because of what I feel for you, and I hope you are the king destined to remain until the end." Hassan paused, contemplating her words, before rising to his feet. He thanked Zahra for her hospitality, promising to keep her secret. As he made his way back, a single thought consumed him: how to deal with his companions. Returning to the simple shelter, he sank into exhaustion and fell asleep almost instantly. Salama kept the fire blazing, tossing wood onto the flames to ward off any lurking creatures. Prince Adnan remained vigilant, pacing and watching over the fire. Hours passed until finally, around midnight, fatigue claimed Salama as well, leaving the prince alone to guard the camp. The forest around them murmured with life, shadows shifting and whispering secrets, while the island held its mysteries tightly, waiting for dawn and the choices yet to come.
Hours passed. Prince Adnan sat by the fire, watching the calm waves lap against the shore. Salama had drifted into a deep sleep inside the shelter, leaving only the crackling fire and the rhythm of the sea. The prince felt a strange mix of boredom and calm, and almost on impulse, he began to sing, softly at first, then louder, letting his voice flow over the water and into the night. He sang of the sea's beauty, the forest's quiet majesty, and the ethereal grace of the women he remembered in the palace. Suddenly, a voice spoke from the shadows. "What sweet words you have, my prince." Adnan spun around, drawing his sword with a startled gasp. Before him stood Princess Zahra, bathed in moonlight, calm yet visibly moved. "Who are you? When did you come here?" he demanded, keeping the blade raised. Zahra stepped closer with quiet confidence. "I could not resist," she said simply. "The beauty of your voice, the strength in your presence, and the kindness in your gaze." The prince lowered his sword, entranced by the moonlight glinting off her eyes and the subtle elegance of her form. She sat beside the fire and soon began to speak, telling him the story of her palace, the forest guardians, and the prophecy of the chosen king. "I am surely the one sought," Adnan declared proudly. "Not one of those fools. I am of Sultan Mubarak's bloodline." Zara's eyes held a quiet certainty. "I trust that you are indeed the kind-hearted king foretold by the prophecy. I have told you the truth because I care for you, and I know your heart, wise and noble." "What if I eliminate these fools?" Adnan asked, a shadow crossing his features. Zara's expression hardened. "A king of true heart does not kill. If you take that path, you forfeit your destiny and forsake me. I must leave now, my prince, before any of your companions see me." With that, she vanished into the forest, leaving Adnan's mind racing with thoughts of how to secure the princess and claim the island as his own. The next morning, the three survivors set about their tasks. Captain Hassan went to fish along the coast. Prince Adnan chose to explore the forest, gathering fruits, herbs, and edible plants. Salama remained at the shelter, keeping the fire ready and maintaining their small camp. By midday, Hassan returned with a bountiful catch of fish, presenting it to Salama to cook over the fire. Moments later, Adnan returned, carrying a basket of fruits, herbs, and wild vegetables. His voice carried a sharp edge as he warned, "I found some poisonous mushrooms under a dense tree. Make sure none of that touches our food. I've brought only safe, edible mushrooms and fresh vegetables." The island, alive with its hidden magic, seemed to hum around them, an ever-watchful world where every choice could shape survival, destiny, and the unfolding of the prophecy. Salama spoke quickly, trying to lighten the mood. "Captain Hassan caught some massive fish today. They look incredible. We're in for a feast." The aroma of sizzling fish soon filled the air, mingling with the earthy scent of mushrooms and fresh herbs. They all sat together, sharing the meal. Salama ate with a noticeable hunger, reaching for fish, vegetables, and mushrooms alike. Prince Adnan's eyes never left Captain Hassan, watching as the older man drank deeply from his water and began to eat the fish. Finally, the prince took a portion himself, a satisfied smile creeping across his face as he felt his plan unfolding. But then, within moments, the captain clutched his stomach and collapsed to the ground, a cry of pain escaping him. Salama and the prince rushed to his side, horrified at the sight. Captain Hassan's face contorted, his strength failing, and dark liquids poured from his mouth. Panic set in. Salama's heart sank. Poison. Prince Adnan drew his sword, fury and disbelief etched across his features. "Who did this? Who dared poison him? Salama, I warned you about the mushrooms. Did you put the poison in his food? Answer me." Salama's eyes widened in shock. I didn't. I ate the same food as everyone else. Why would I harm him? There's no reason, my lord." But Adnan's accustions only sharpened. "You're the only one here. It must be you.
You must have hidden the poison in the fish." Suddenly, Adnan himself doubled over, a violent spasm racking his body. The sword fell from his hands, clattering to the ground as he cried out in agony. What did you put in the food? My stomach! It burns! Poison! It's in my body too!" Salama froze, horrified, as a white froth escaped Adnan's lips. He fell to the ground, tears streaming down his face. He screamed, "What's happening? I'm innocent! I didn't do this!" Captain Hassan gasped his last words, his voice barely audible over the chaos. "It seems the three of us share the same fate." Adnan, writhing in pain and anger, shouted at the lifeless captain, "What have you done, you madman? How did you poison me?" But Hassan could not answer. He was gone. Salama could only stare, paralyzed by fear and confusion. How can I save you, my lord?" he whispered, his voice trembling. But the island seemed silent, the forest around them holding its secrets, as if watching the grim tableau unfold. The three, Captain Hassan, Prince Adnan, and Salama, lay on the ground, victims of an unseen hand, the night pressing in, the prophecy of the island and its mysterious forces tightening around them like a shadow.
Prince Adnan collapsed beside his fallen sword, while Salama stood frozen, panic rooting him to the spot. He checked for pulses, his hands trembling, but the truth hit him. Both the captain and the prince were gone. Death had claimed them. Suddenly, a movement behind him made him spin around. Standing there, serene and composed, was Princess Zara, her green eyes glinting in the dim light. Behind her, a troop of the island's magical monkey-like creatures, nimble, clever, and watchful, emerged, forming a protective circle. Salama's voice trembled. Who are you? What have you done to my friends?" Zara stepped closer, her expression calm, almost sad. She said, "I am the princess of this island. I have watched over it for years, and I have seen the greed and ambition of those who would claim what is not theirs. Your companions, their desire for power led them to betray and ultimately to their own undoing." Salama's eyes widened. How is that possible? Zara's gaze softened, yet remained firm. Prince Adnan knew of poisonous plants and mushrooms. He saw the colored toxic mushroom and collected it, planning to use it to frame you, to dispose of both the captain and yourself while securing the island for himself. Last night, he spiked the captain's water, intending to pin the blame on you. Salama glanced at the prince's still form, disbelief twisting his face. "And did he die from that poison?" "No," she replied gravely. "That was not the poison that killed him. The captain had caught a rare venomous fish, the bite fish. He prepared it as part of the meal today. It is a poison few can resist. He intended to take all of you with him. But greed has a way of turning on those who seek more than their share. Fate intervened." Salama's brow furrowed. The bitefish? But my mother once told me that long ago I had survived its venom, that it would no longer harm me. Zara smiled knowingly. Indeed, the captain himself was immune. But today, the consequence of ambition and deceit has decided their fates. And now, Salama, it falls to you. You are the one the island has chosen, the rightful leader, the first among men here. With that, the magical island seemed to shift around him. The trees rustled as if whispering approval. The creatures bowed their heads, and the sunlight danced on the jungle canopy like a blessing. Salama accepted his destiny. He married Princess Zara, becoming the ruler of the island. Together they had children, establishing a new kingdom at the heart of this distant, mysterious isle, deep in the enigmatic sea of shadows. A kingdom born from courage, justice, and the trials of the three men who had once been cast by fate into its waters.